You're listening to SM Media, the #1 place for exclusive content.
Hi everyone and welcome to a slightly later edition of the Scottish Football Show right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. Got our all-star panel this week. We're delighted to be joined by, as always, Mark, not Brian Wilson. Mark, how are we?
Hi, fine, thanks Scott. It's been a busy week in Scottish football, so looking to get stuck into it.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be dissecting all the action that's taking place over the weekend. We're also joined by Shankers. Shankers, how are we?
I am good, Scott. As Mark says, it's been a successful week for the national team and stuff, and a big week of domestic football as well this weekend, so get going.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously we don't have Rory this week, so I've turned to my brother Callum. Callum, you're back on the show. How are we?
The best McPike.
The best one by a long shot. No, delighted to be back on and buzzing to talk about the football at the weekend and see how things go tonight.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get stuck in. Obviously, a bit of sad news over the weekend, and we'll touch on the sad passing of Bertie Auld. Obviously, Lisbon Lion that passed away on Sunday, at the age of 83. Wilson, obviously, we'll touch on his legacy in a couple of minutes. But first of all, another really sad loss, and it's been a kind of really bad month.
Absolutely terrible news. Again, you see a lot of the kind of accolades coming in now about the type of person he was. There's obviously been a lot of stuff in social media, you know, about the kind of stuff he did at the matchday hospitality at Celtic and, you know, kind of jokes and songs recently. But again, you have to remember he was a fantastic player as well.
Yeah.
You know, part of the Lisbon Lions, as you mentioned in the intro. And it's just sad. And as I say, it was so... I didn't enjoy it, but I thought the minute silence at Hampden the other night for Walter Smith and Bertie Auld was very poignant. Although I sometimes think, I know and it's very, very sad, but I sometimes think for two greats like that, I always think maybe a round of applause would probably have been a wee bit better as well. You know, it is always, as I say, it is always sad, but I think when you get two absolute, greats of Scottish football, then, as I say, a minute's applause might have been more poignant. But as I say, it was a terrific player as well. You know, you got to remember that. And it's sad times at Celtic Park just now.
Yeah, and obviously we'll touch on Bertie Auld's record as a player. Obviously 12 major trophies with Celtic, obviously part of that infamous Lisbon Lions team that won the 1967 European Cup for Celtic. Wilson, what gets me about that Celtic team then is how many players came for junior football. Bertie Auld, obviously Muriel Harp, obviously Bobby Lennox was at Ardea, Stevie Chalmers, Ashfield. Just shows you how unbelievable achievement that was, and Bertie Auld was a big part of
that. Absolutely, but I think, you know, Scott, even from those times, I think that's where these guys had to cut their teeth. You know, Ken Dalglish was junior football as well.
Yeah,
and even up like a couple of guys you've had in the show, David Bagan and that. You know, when they signed their first kind of contracts with Kilmarnock, the first thing they did was they were sent out to local junior teams. I know David was at Troon. I went and watched him there a couple of times. I know other guys like Stephen Hamilton, who's now a coach at Hearts. I think he was sent to Darvel at the time. Obviously, Darvel aren't what they were now, but that was the breeding for them, and I think there's a lot to be said for it. And as I say, it's what obviously maybe Callum and Mark would refer to as old school now, but it certainly didn't do those guys any harm. And same the names you've mentioned there, the other Lisbon Lions. So yeah, obviously a good grounding for them. I think obviously now the money's in the game now, so young guys kind of have to earn their corn playing under 18s, under 20s football before they get to the first team, rather than having that kind of loan spell out of the juniors to what I would imagine at the time was to toughen them up, so to speak.
Yeah, but it's another really sad loss. We've heard all the stories in the past couple of days about how kind of good a guy he was, how good a player he was, but just another really sad loss, and our condolences go out to Bertie Auld's family. But we'll touch on another story that's obviously just breaking as we've started recording. It seems pretty much done that Rangers have found a new manager, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. It does look as if it's only a matter of time before it's announced. Shankers, we done the show a couple of days ago and we touched on who would be next to replace Steven Gerrard. It looks as if Rangers have got the man they want.
Aye, well, it was the target that was set for the start. It looked as if he had, certainly for the fans' point of view anyway, there was one man that they wanted for the job, and it looks as if it's all but done. Whether it's right or wrong, it's yet to. We'll have to judge him maybe in a few months down the line. But I think we have to. He knows that the supporters will back him 100% up to the hilt. He's got I know he might not be in the dugout at the weekend because how close the game is and from his appointment, but I'm sure he'll be there. He'll be hoping for a big performance, and he'll be hoping that the management team that's in place get him into a final, and he's got a final to look forward to. But it's just probably going to be his backroom team now that we're going to wait and see whether there's somebody that's a bit more familiar with Scottish football recently than what I know he's played in Scotland, but as in more recently, like an ex-player or somebody who's been around Scottish football in recent times or not. I don't know if there's any names that's been flying about. I've seen Kevin Thompson, usual Barry Ferguson, usual names flying about. I can't see any of them being involved in it, but well, who knows? We'll wait and see it. I would imagine some point tomorrow there would maybe be an announcement. Whether the backroom team follow or whether the backroom team are there to be announced alongside them. We'll see whether they bring somebody, the Dutch that's maybe got an affiliation with the club as well, that maybe an ex-player that's played alongside or whatever. But we'll wait and see it. As you said, it looks all but done, and it's times for him and the club now, because it's been left in a good position for him to take on. So I'm sure he'll be delighted.
We'll touch a wee bit on the backroom team just quickly before we bring in Callum. It does appear that the backroom team, we don't know much about who it's going to be. We know a couple of names it's not. We know it's not going to be Barry Ferguson, I think, for kind of obvious reasons. Kevin Thompson, I've spoke to a couple of people close to that situation. They've said it's a no-go. So, again, there's no real names mentioned. I know Neil McCann's been mentioned. There's been Arthur Newman. I don't know much about if that's the case. But again, that's something we'll follow over the next couple of days. Callum, what's your thoughts on Giovanni Van Bronckhorst? Is he the right man for the position, Jink?
We'll soon find out. The thing, as Mark picked up on there, whether he'll be in charge for the weekend, is the thing that I think will be worrying the fans more than anything. Depending on, I think, the people who are supposed to be in charge for the weekend, whether it was a couple of people outside the phone stuff, will we get in before the cup final? That's a question I think a lot of folk will ask. Whether it'll be, if they'll find it different, not going without a manager, if they'll find it tough. But it was going to happen sooner rather than later. I mean, it was the only name that was going to really, everybody, I think, on the betting and on the rumours that everybody wanted. Looking at it online, I think he's the only one that he was likes right up the top. So I think at the end of the day, I mean, he's the only one that was at the top. So and the only one that Rangers fans maybe really wanted. So it's whether he's in charge for the weekend. But if he's not, they'll have to go at it and see how they got on.
It seems to be that there's, even if he's appointed tomorrow, it will be likely that the team of McCallum, Gilmour, Defoe, they'll lead the team out on Sunday. And obviously, the talk is Van Bronckhorst will be there in some capacity, but won't be taking charge of the team. Wilson, we'll bring you in this one. Is it a good appointment, do you think? It's obviously too early to tell if it is or not, but do you think it's only seemed to be one name, hasn't it? It's only been one name we've been hearing. It seems to be the fans' choice, and it seems to be the board's choice.
Well, I'll be honest, and I know you guys will be ready to shoot me down in flames. I find it a very strange appointment, if I'm honest. Again, I don't know. Now, again, you'll probably correct me, Scott, with your contacts, but I don't know if the Rangers board or faculty, whatever you want to call it, had a list. I think they're quite shocked by Steven Gerrard's exit. I don't think there was anything kind of concrete in place in the event of. Now, I don't think anyone was expecting that. And we touched on the last show, Scott, that you and I did last weekend, about like Aston Villa seemed to want Gerrard, and that was it. There was no other real names branded about in other media outlets. It was Gerrard, and that was it. And I find that a wee bit strange about Rangers. Now, Rangers obviously took a big gamble on Steven Gerrard, which some fans would argue, in effect, possibly paid off. But again, we touched on this, and we touch on it most weeks, about are Celtic fans going to have the same patience that Rangers fans had with Gerrard? Are they going to have that with Postecoglou? And are Rangers fans happy with this appointment? And as I say, it seems to be kind of one name. I mean, I know initially all the guys out of job as they are, Dean Smith, Frank Lampard, etc. were all like, but it didn't seem to go anywhere. It only seemed to be, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's name was out first, and that was it. Now, I always think it's hard for a manager to come in mid-season. Again, Rangers are top of the league. They're in a semi-final. They're still in Europe. Let's take all the positives. But I find that I always think with a continental manager, especially, they want to stamp their own authority on it. Is he going to change the style of play? Is he going to change formation? Is he going to bring in 2-3 players in January? It's like he's got a kind of end of season job, pre-season job, going to a start of a new season to do within 4 or 5 weeks till January. Again, and I know we touched on this long ago about Kilmarnock, I actually thought Rangers would just bring in someone that knows the SPL, not necessarily knows the players, but knows the formations and the tactics that Gerrard, etc. had, and possibly a stopgap, and until maybe the end of the season. Because I think it's a big ask now, because let's be honest, the only way Van Bronckhorst can go with Rangers is down. They are top. They're in a semi-final. They've done reasonably well in Europe. Again, he's going to take that job. And as I say, I would be very, very surprised if maybe 1 or 2 big names at Rangers don't leave in January for some decent cash, if you read anything into the figures. So that's where I think it's a wee bit of a strange appointment. But again, there was no other real names like it. I find that amazing. And again, it's always the same old story. I go on about this all the time. Every time a club looks for a manager, and Aston Villa is the exception, it's always somebody out of what they look for. They don't come in and like Aston Villa have done, and they just went, we want Gerrard, pinch him, there's your money, up the road. I find that strange. So I don't, whether it's a good point, Callum said that, you've got to give the guy time, you've got to see what he's want. But I just wonder, is this the Rangers fans' first choice, or are they just happy that it's a former player going to maybe not another?
But that will buy him time, though. That will buy him time. His playing career. Same with Gerrard to a degree.
His manager career is a lot better though. For 5 years managed, he's won 5 trophies. And I think
his last trophy was 5 years ago. He's been in China for the last 5 years, and I don't think his record there's anything like Perry Upples at Stirling. It's no.
The thing you were saying though is, I honestly don't think that there is much other choice for Rangers to go for, in my opinion. But
again, Carl, that's what I find amazing. Because I go on about the size of these clubs all the time.
Yeah,
and that's why can't, I mean, again, I know the money. I know the money's the biggest issue.
I think it was similar.
I think Rangers would be more than capable of going to Brighton. We want Graham Potter. There's your money. We're taking him because Rangers are bigger than Brighton.
But do they have the money to snatch Graham Potter off of Brighton?
Again, that's the interesting thing. That's where it comes from, and it always amazes me that if Rangers and Celtic don't have money.
But the thing that surprised me a wee bit as well. There's obviously when Gerrard left, did Rangers have a candidate for, just say for instance, obviously a Premier League club could have come in at the time. Did they have a plan to maybe bring a manager in, or did they have they done that just because Gerrard's left? But
they put it out that they had a plan, they had a succession plan before this. They were preparing for this.
I don't see how they've only. I think the only person that they've had in place was Van Bronckhorst from the start. It was the same for me when when they didn't have a manager when Gerrard came in. It seemed to me that they only wanted to have one person in place. Like the Rangers fans, I know at the time, they didn't want McInnes at the time. I think it's similar to now. They didn't want Russell Martin in. They didn't want McInnes in, Callum Davis, and they didn't want these people in. I think the board has listened to what the Rangers fans want, and tried to give them Van Bronckhorst.
How could, just for interest, how would Ross Wilson and the board, etc., have a plan in place for a manager who was signed till 2024?
Because it was always
speculation for Gerrard for Newcastle before as well.
I think that kind of triggered the Newcastle thing.
I don't even
think speculation.
I don't even think Gerrard was in the running for the Newcastle job, because see, when he was asked by Emma Dodds that question, see if he wouldn't have said that answer if he was in the running for the Newcastle job.
I think that's Ross
and see the fact that he wasn't in for the job. That's how he gave that answer, because there's been no contact whatsoever. So he's like, well, there's no reason for me to not to say that reply, because he's not been asked for that job. So he made it as if, and then all of a sudden there is concrete offers for him, and he's like, by the way, I'm off here, and then he's looked silly. But I guarantee, I'd almost say 99% sure that there would be no contact whatsoever for Newcastle 2 weeks ago, and that's why he's gave the answer that he's gave.
100% agree with you, Shankers. And what I think possibly with Steven Gerrard, I know it's been used as a meme and all that, I'm happy here, etc., etc. I think Steven Gerrard looked at Newcastle and thought they could bring in anyone they want. Absolutely, with the money they've got, they can go and get whoever they want. So there's absolutely no way I'm in the running for this.
Right.
So he come away with that answer.
Look who they got.
Now Steven Gerrard might be thinking, wait a minute here. Wait a minute here, I should have been in with the Newcastle job. And then that's when I thought, again, I agree with Shank, because I don't think he was even on the shortlist for Newcastle, but I think he thought, that's the type of club I'm going to have to go to to get the move that I want, And as I say, if he wasn't linked with Newcastle, I don't think he could have knocked back any job offer from the Premiership. And I think that's why he's kind of taken. I mean, Aston Villa's a big club, they're a big club down there, and I think that's why he's kind of grasped at it early, because he wasn't linked with Newcastle, and I think maybe in his ambitious mind he's thinking, well, listen, maybe, and then as you say, they went and get Eddie Howe. You're thinking, well, maybe I'm a wee bit raging that I never get interviewed for the Newcastle job. So I don't think Rangers were prepared for this. I think if they were prepared in this, then this whole backroom thing would have been sorted. This would have been, as soon as it was it's going to be Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. His assistant is out in China. It's not going to be him. The deal's going to be, because what interest is it of anyone's really to announce Neil McCann, because he's not on the job.
I agree. I don't think. I think it's easy for them to say that there's a plan in place because it looks as if they're organised, but I think it's came totally unexpected. I'm not saying they wouldn't have had any names in mind at all. I'm not saying that, but for them to come in and go, when Gerrard's away, we've got A, B, C ready to get lined up. We've got, as Wilton says, an assistant manager. That it seems to be that's probably one of the only delays of the deal getting done, because there's nobody in place. So it says that they've been ready for this, but then there's no backroom team. Mm-hmm. And Gerrard was always brought all the guys to Rangers. So see, when he got another job, it was inevitable it was going to take them away, because he's not going to get in there and start afresh again, or there's no point in bringing them up and working with him all here. So it's inevitable. So I'm with Wilson on that one. I don't think they were as prepared as maybe getting made it to be.
But again, we'll wait for official confirmation. We'll obviously be keeping everyone up to date as much as we can over the next couple of days as the announcement is likely to take place. If it's not on Thursday, it could be into next week. So again, it's an exciting time if you're a Rangers fan with a new manager possibly coming in. But we'll move into the big action over the weekend. Scotland booked a place in the World Cup playoffs. 2 wins, a 2-0 win over Moldova in Chisinau, and a 2-0 home win over the group winners Denmark. Wilson, that must have been one of the best 2 performances in many years if you're a Scotland fan.
Absolutely, 100%. And I've watched a lot of games the last 30 years probably. But the performance against Denmark Monday night was top notch. The way we played as well, and as I say, always think these ones, it's hard to pick a man of the match. And I look at the likes of Suter, Cooper. Are these guys first choice if everyone's fit? Probably not. But the performances they put in, even Stephen O'Donnell, I thought get pass marks as well. I thought he did a reasonable job. But again, it was hard to. I know Patterson was he suspended for the second game? Or,
I get booked
because he was absolutely outstanding in Moldova as well. Not just the goal and the assist, but his defensive display as well. And as I say, and again, we've always had hope as Scotland fans, but Scotland should be going to Moldova and winning. Might not should be beating Denmark at home, but now that's us going to places like Albania, the Faroes, Israel, Austria, and winning. And that's what we should have with that pool of players that we've got now. And as I say, I know it's going to be very tough whoever we get in the next couple of games in March. But there's no reason to fear. I don't think there's any reason to fear. I know obviously we wanted to avoid the likes of Italy and Portugal for obvious reasons, but all these teams will be dangerous. I'm looking even at Wales and that. We've still got Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey. They'll be a dangerous prospect, but I genuinely can't see any of these teams coming to Hampden and winning, with the backing and what we've got now as a national team. And as I say, I must admit, and I know we've kind of debated, more or less argued over this year, but that midfield three of Gilmour, McGregor and McGinn looks pretty nailed. If I'm a Stuart Armstrong or even a McTominay, I think McTominay will play at the back certainly, but I'm looking at that going, I'm never going to play for Scotland. I'm never going to start for Scotland again unless there's an injury. And what was quite, and I don't know if you've seen it, guys, I was catching up in that whatever it takes about the qualification.
Yeah.
And it was going back to 2018 when Alex McLeish was in charge, and you're looking at the change. McBurney was there, Griffiths was there, McKenna was starting. Ryan Jack's injury pause, he was there. It's like a completely different team and a completely different mentality all the way through. And it's just really, really positive at the moment. And as I say, unless one of the kind of big hitters, McGinn, Gilmour, etc., get injured for March, then full steam ahead for me.
Definitely a ton of credit needs to go to Steve Clarke for how much he's rejigged the team. Callum, what was your overall takeaways for both performances?
Yeah, just picking up on what Mark says to start with. The second game was obviously the first game. Obviously, no disrespect to Moldova, but they weren't obviously a lot better than Denmark. But Denmark were a team who got really far in the Euros. The semi-finals they got to. Mm-hmm. Even I know they had a lot of players out of the team. On Monday night, they still get some top players in that team who are playing at the top clubs in Europe. Some of them, Schmeichel obviously in the team, but I think a lot of credit goes to another player we've not mentioned. Mark never mentioned there was Liam Cooper. I think Liam Cooper in the two games was absolutely brilliant at the back. I know he played amazing against Denmark, but these are players who are in every single in the both games that Scotland played. Obviously, there's players playing in for great clubs down in England, down south. Shea Adams is playing for Southampton. Callum McGregor's a Celtic captain. I thought Callum McGregor on Monday night was probably the best player in the park. I thought the way he controlled the ball was brilliant. Obviously, Kieran Tierney and Andy Robertson are playing at two of the probably the best clubs in the Premier League. I think they've got that chemistry because they're both kind of similar, but they're both different in a way because obviously they both attack. They're both left-footed. As Mark was saying there about McTominay coming back in, whether he'll slip back into defence. But I think Suter's made a great claim. He's been unlucky with his injuries over the past few years. I think he'll make a great claim to come in. Obviously, there was a lot of problems in the goalkeeping department over the past few years, but I think Craig Gordon's come in and he'll make a claim and he'll stay in that and stay in the goal. I think Adams is another player as well. Scoring that goal, I think, will help him massively to try and push his Scotland career on. But these are players that are all playing for great clubs and playing first team football. And I think Steve Clarke's finding his best team now. Obviously, I mentioned Robertson and Tierney. I think they're his strongest. But I think having likes of Patterson and O'Donnell fighting as well for the same kind of similar position will help him. But I think he's finding his as Mark said, McGinn, Gilmore, and who was the other one? McGregor. That in that midfield, I think he's finding his best team now. So I think the way the team he's built and the players he's got, as Mark said, I think from now everybody in Scotland will be hoping that this is the start of the Scotland going forward and playing in every single competition each year.
Who do you think? Because the way I look at it is now, objectively, as it'll be Robertson and Patterson as your wing backs, and then your right sided one's going to be McTominay, and your left sided one's going to be Tierney. It's who plays in that middle position, because Hanley had done well previously, and again with Cooper, I like Cooper more than Hanley, if I'm honest. He plays a bit better, but Hanley, does the dirty side of things a lot better.
Henry's not covering. Henry's not bad either.
But I think Jack Henry would play on the right hand side of the three, and I think he would play McTominay there. If I'm honest, depending on what's available midfield. So I just wonder what you guys think, who that middle man would be, because I think Gordon's a stick on. I think Patterson, McTominay, Tierney, Robertson.
Does he get a game over
in the middle now? Pick themselves. Sorry,
Patterson. Does he get? Will he get the game over? Get a game over O'Donnell? Will be the first pick over O'Donnell all the time? Do you think?
I think he is. I think he's performed. I think it was to try and breathe him into the squad. And
that was a trick question.
It was only because.
No, I think Patterson's performance in Moldova now has just edged him out. And I dare say, if Patterson wasn't suspended or about whatever it was, I think Patterson would have started against Denmark as well. And that's no disrespect. I really like Stephen O'Donnell. I thought he was really good at Kilmarnock. I think his career started a bit at Motherwell. I think he could want to be bigger and better than Motherwell, if I'm honest. No disrespect to them either. But I think you look at Patterson now and, the papers know. I mean, I know they talk a lot of rubbish, but they know a lot of stuff. And for him to be tipped for Everton, Aston Villa shows what people think of them. So, as I say, at the moment, it's Patterson for me and probably everybody else.
Shankers, what was your overall takeaways for the performance, and who would you? We'll go through the draw in a minute, but we'll ask you first. What was your overall thoughts on the performance?
There's not much that Mark and Callum haven't really covered. But the Friday night's game almost took care of itself. If Scotland aren't going and get results like that, then we need to start. And then that's when we start worrying if they're not going to Moldova and running over the top of them. It's more Monday night's performance was, for my time watching Scotland, and I've always watched them whenever they're playing. I'm not like Bolton. I don't go to the games an awful lot. I go to the odd game here and there, but I will always watch Scotland whenever they're playing, and that's probably the best I've ever seen Scotland playing as a whole team. I'm not just saying because it was a good result, as in performance, everything was perfect. Like, you couldn't fault anything, and it's not as if you got a good 60 minutes and then they took the foot off it when it went 2-0. 90 minutes, you've got John McGinn running down the right hand side. 89 minutes, switches it to Adams. Adams knocked it for Armstrong to tap it in. The defender's got a great block on it, but that is at the end of the game. Going while you're up 2-0, when they could have easily sat in, started lumping balls up and whatnot. But all credit has to go to the players and the manager for that, because you can see that there's been a hell of a lot of work done in the training ground or whenever there's no way they've just gone for, I think it was 5 points out of possible 12 or something like that at the start of the group, and then to go 6 in the bounce, it shows the work that the team and the manager have put on the training pitch. And it's interesting now because Scotland used to for maybe 2-3 years ago, we had all these players coming through and we maybe didn't have, we're going, who's playing at the back, Darren McGrew filling in there and stuff like that. Maybe you're sitting going, right, we've got McTominay, Cooper, Suter, Hendry, Tierney, even Declan Gallagher to a certain extent, Hanley. There's 6-7 players that if any one of them played in the team, you would be confident of getting a result. And you've got Patterson, O'Donnell, even Ralston at right back. Right back was a bit of a problem to start with. Ryan Jack had been playing there. Ryan Fraser had been playing as a wing back. They've got options all over the park now. Che Adams is coming in. I mean, when Wilson was saying about McBurney will never put on a Scotland shirt ever again now, and that's unless the options through injury or whatever, and he gets called up. But you've got Adams, Dykes, Nisbet, people like that. See the options of Forrest and Fraser can't even get a sniff in the team really now. Christie played the other day there. Christie was good as well. There's so many options. The goalkeeper, Craig Gordon, phenomenal again. He didn't really have much to do, but when he did, pulled off a cracking save. First half, I'm sure it was. It's just so exciting. See when Scotland are playing now, people are sitting up, taking notice. They're going to games, selling at Hampden. They're going down the pub with their mates. Everybody's sitting up and want to watch Scotland and looking forward to watching the national team. And that's the way it should be. And that's not how it's been for the past 3, 4, 5 years. But see, since Steve Clarke come in and they get hundreds of criticism at the start, and there was probably some people thinking maybe call him for his head or whatever. But see now, if people, whoever was saying that, they've just got to bite the bullet and say, right, we were wrong, and Steve Clarke's gonna got the country believing again and gave the country a team to be proud of. And every time it used to be a international break and everybody's like, oh, international break. It used to be a bit of a kind of bummer when that come up, and now everybody's like, international break, Scotland's playing, they're in playoffs, they're in Euros, they're in Nations League progressing up the leagues now, and it's good to be watching Scotland and a supporter of the national team nowadays, the way they're playing, and it's exciting times ahead, and I'm sure we're going to come on to who we can get in the playoffs and stuff, and right now when you're looking at it, you're going, if Scotland play anywhere near the level that they played on Monday, you should not fear any single team that is even the seeded teams that are in there. If Scotland played like they played on Monday, I honestly think they could beat any of the teams that's in there.
And as we say, we'll touch on the 6 teams that Scotland could get. We'll go around the panel and get their dream draw and their worst draw out of these 6 teams. So just keep a note of these: Poland, Turkey, North Macedonia, Ukraine, Austria, and the Czech Republic. Shankers, your dream draw and your worst draw. Who would you want and who do you want to avoid?
I would take Ukraine or North Macedonia, and then Wales in the final. Wales or Sweden. I think probably if I had to pick like a perfect one, it would be North Macedonia, then Wales. Right. The worst one I think would probably be this is Czechs unseeded.
Czechs are unseeded, yeah.
Republic, and then Italy or Portugal. I would have to do that, wouldn't it? Really?
Yeah. Wilson, your draw to avoid in the unseeded section, and then your team you would quite like in that unseeded section.
Yeah, I think I would take North Macedonia. I would take Austria as well. We've beaten them away as well.
Yes, Austria.
I would like to avoid Poland. I think Lewandowski would be someone to avoid. I'm not saying he's a one-man team, but he's certainly definitely a threat. Again, you want to avoid Italy and Portugal, let's be honest. Dream draw. I would say North Macedonia and Wales. Again, I think the final game is away from home. Is that correct?
I think so. Yeah. I think that's an open draw.
I think it's a draw. I think you can get drawn at home. I think the semi is definitely at home, and then I'm sure the draw where your final game is going to be.
Well, that would be fine. So an easier route: Austria, North Macedonia, and the first, Wales in the final. The toughest one would be Poland, I think. And then obviously Italy or Portugal would be a tough one, but Italy wouldn't bother me. It'd be nice to go and thank their team and their fans for what they did at the Euros, so that wouldn't bother me. I would like Sweden, if I'm honest. My brother lives there, so it'll be free digs. So I'd probably go to the game if it was Sweden as well.
Brilliant. Callum, who do we want to avoid in the draw, and who do we be keen to get?
I agree with Wilson. I think if you avoid Poland, it's obviously, as you said about Lewandowski, I think Poland are a great side. But I would, as talking about a team that I would want, I would actually like to get the Czechs again. I think the Euros, I think they're so good. They're good going forward. But see at the back, I don't think they're very, very impressive. I think the way Scotland are playing, they knew that they could cut Czech Republic open. And I think the way that Scotland are defending, they knew that they would actually be able to handle the Czech Republic. I'd like to actually get the Czech Republic again, because I think Rangers were Scotland were unfair. I've just made that. But no, I think Scotland were unfair at the Euros. I think that the Czech Republic came to Hampden and played not their best football, but
they got a gift of a goal, to be fair.
They got a gift of a goal, to be fair, as you say there. But I think they'd actually like the Czech Republics. I think they would. I think they would actually give the Czech Republics a game. But as I say, I don't think you want Poland. Obviously, I think you could beat Austria as well. I think Austria would beat them already. But I think the way Scotland are playing now, that I think they could come up against anybody in the draw now, and they could beat them.
I genuinely think that the only team that would, I think Poland, as Wilson says, Lewandowski's just, I wouldn't want to play against Lewandowski if I was a Scotland defender, but I think that's any defender.
I always think, would it be his, what he is, would it be his last tournament, his last song?
Probably.
So
I think he's about 34.
You want to avoid Portugal as well.
Yeah, you want to avoid Portugal and Italy. You want to avoid Portugal and Italy, but I think the other teams, you could really give them a game easily. I don't think Scotland have anything to fear. Portugal and Italy, obviously, we know who they are. Italy are probably.
So is it only a one leg semi-final?
Yeah, it's a one leg semi-final and a one leg final. It just depends the draw. I think the draw is this next Friday, so we'll have obviously coverage on the draw as and when it comes out. But Shankers, on you go.
Can I just say something? You're meant to be the guy that did this, right? And again, it's obviously, it's basically everybody knows anyway. But Jim White's just tweeted that he's just had it confirmed that Van Bronckhorst is close to finalising a deal tonight. That's what he's just put out at 9:20 there.
Yep.
So I don't know whether it would be tonight or when, I don't know if it would be at this stage of the night. I think that I might imagine that it'll be tomorrow. Again, it's obviously basically old news that everybody knew it anyway. But it's when people like him are saying it, you know it's kind of.
Wonder why Jim White's tweeting it. Doesn't work for Sky Sports anymore.
But we'll
probably there with his autograph book and his scarf.
We'll touch on, obviously, we did. Shankar said there about international breaks usually been boring. This has been by no means boring in basically every aspect of Scottish football. Today was obviously the Celtic annual general meeting. It's the word I was quoted by somebody that was there was feisty. That was the word that was quoted as how it went. I kind of followed it most of the day.
Who told you that? Peter Law?
He was there. But it's just another kind of saga in this kind of Celtic's boardroom. Wilson, I'll bring you in. Obviously, we spoke a lot about this in the past. Today wasn't a good look for the Celtic board, was it?
But I don't know what they were expecting. You know, and I appreciate the club has to do these things. Now again, and I know we kind of had a laugh and a joke about the Falkirk kind of managers kind of thing a few weeks ago, but I sometimes don't get why these people put themselves in that position, in that firing line. After the performance on the pitch last year, I don't know what they expected. Now again, I know Neil Lennon's away and a few of the players are now away, but I don't know what they were expecting. And again, I always think, I know the fans are the club, you know, and that goes for every club. But when it comes to things in the boardroom, I don't see, you know, what possibly members of the board. I know they're shareholders and they may be very, very wealthy people, but I would like to think these people in these positions, I'm not saying they know what they're doing all the time, but they're going to be better at the job than, you know, Jimmy that's got 15 shares, you know, mouthing off about appointments, etc. Now, I know the issues with Higgins and they had the protests recently, and it's maybe a place to air their views, but in a public forum like that, I just don't think that's what today's designed for. I think today would have been a great opportunity for the new manager, or newish manager, I suppose, to come out, you know, talk us through Ange Ball, tell us what his targets like, tell us what, I mean, I know he probably did that as well.
Yeah.
But again, all the kind of finance thing was always going to lead to awkward questions, shouting out for the galleries as such. And I don't think the fans or Bankier or any of these guys come across well today. I think only possibly Postecoglou come out with any sort of credit. And as I say, the fans need to be a wee bit kind of calm down themselves. He's protesting, that doesn't do anyone any good. I appreciate their feelings on it, but I honestly thought the thing at Dundee was embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing with the tennis balls and that. And again, so I just think, if you want change in the boardroom, then you have to maybe vote with your feet or vote with your tickets, whatever you're doing. But let's not take it away that every club's or everyone has been affected by COVID in the last 2 years. I don't know what the Celtic fans were expecting. Yes, answer questions, but again, I don't think that the blame that they're putting out falls at the club's door as such, because Neil Lennon was given money. Neil Lennon was given the tools. He might not have picked some of those players, but again, that's not the board's fault. You know, if they've got somebody who was fella Nicky, somebody was it? Who was the Hammond? Nicky Hammond signing the players. Then you know that's where your anger and your thing lies about signing these players. Not necessarily at the board. Again, Desmond wasn't there again. I can understand why that's hurt some people.
15th year in a row, Dermot Desmond wasn't at AGM.
I mean, if I had
15th year in a row, Dermot Desmond didn't show up for the AGM.
I mean, if I had his money, I wouldn't go either. You know,
no, do you know what? Do you know the first?
I wouldn't own a football club if I had his money.
That's absolutely true.
Do you know the first thought I had after today? Peter Lawwell was brilliant at controlling a situation like that.
Yeah,
badly missed Peter Lawwell in a
we said it before. Sometimes you're better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Yeah. And was it just before? I think it was just before it says that it would be stepping down at the end of the season, and it was almost an uproar. No bad, but an uproar. Like, thank God he's out and all that. And then I don't think they realised maybe what a job he had actually done at Celtic till he's away, and you see, I don't really know any, and so I'm really kind of just the football side of things. But you're saying it's not gone well. You're thinking, well, maybe a guy like that. There was still rumours that he's been there in some sort of capacity anyway.
It came out today. They done before they went into the AGM and the questions. They had a 20-minute video. It was an interview with Ian Bankier, and Ian Bankier is quoted in saying that Peter Lawwell had a really big influence in appointing Postecoglou. I find that astounding, because Peter Lawwell isn't there anymore. So how is he allowed to have an influence in who the next manager is when he's not going to be there?
Positive aspect is Peter Lawwell maybe has the foresight to see that Brendan Rodgers wasn't going to be there forever.
No.
So Peter Lawwell's maybe done his homework in terms of going around the world looking at managers, coaches, whatever he's doing. Again, I don't know if Neil Lennon was Peter Lawwell's choice when he came in for Brendan Rodgers. I think the due diligence was done then, but I think the whole hype with a treble, quadruple treble, 10 in a row, and I think Celtic and it's maybe countering the point that I made earlier about Rangers. I think Celtic thought, right, let's get a 10. I think no way they didn't want the 10 as such. They thought Neil Lennon, tried and tested, he's won titles, he knows what all firm games are about. Let's get on the
Quote for quote, safe pair of hands.
And I think even if Celtic had won 10 in a row, I still don't think Neil Lennon would be the Celtic manager. No. Then this project of Postecoglou, etc., would have been going on, and Celtic would have a kind of rebuild or restructure, whatever you want to call it. As I say, if you're a shareholder at Celtic, I would have been turning up demanding answers about what happened on the pitch last season.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very few clubs around the world will have made any sort of significant profit or massive dents or that in their books. The Celtic fans have been there asking what happened on the pitch and maybe why Neil Lennon was allowed to go there for so long. But all this stuff with appointments to the board, and I sometimes think just
what's the financial turnover in what now?
It was.
Well, I think in terms of the Ayer and Frimpong sales, it was
pretty good compared.
Reasonably healthy, but nothing to the extent. if whoever wins the league this season, their debt's wiped.
Yeah, correct.
If they get Champions League money, but that would be the same for any club. Well, maybe not the big rich ones in the Premiership, but even the likes of Inter Milan's, AC Milan, these guys would be crying out for that money. And that's where I think sometimes the fans maybe get too much say at certain clubs. And as I say, yeah, demand answers on the pitch, but off the pitch, don't worry about it.
Callum, anything you want to add?
No, as I say, I didn't really. I don't know. As Mark Shanklin said, he said about he prefers to look on the park. As I'm the same. I don't take anything to do looking at the AGM meetings or anything. But as Wilson said there a minute ago about at the time when Rodgers and that was sacked and stuff, and they were talking about it. I talked to a lot of Celtic fans and that at my work, and people that I know who are Celtic fans, and they were talking about the AGM meeting today and stuff, and they've brought it up for about since Rodgers left, that they've been absolutely kicking themselves for the past however 18 months to 2 years that they didn't get David Moyes in at the time. Now I know you haven't really spoke about it, and I know it was going on to something, and if it's thing would just stop me, but I've spoken to a lot of people about a couple of boys in my work who are Celtic fans, and they've said about the AGM meeting today, but they are absolutely kicking themselves that David Moyes didn't get the job, because I think when Neil Lennon got appointed, David Moyes wasn't in a job. I don't know how you feel about that, and I know it was a long while ago now. Celtic are improving under Postecoglou, but I don't know how you feel about that, and maybe it's me taking it a bit too far, but I don't know how you feel about that.
No, it's hard to disagree on it, because he wasn't in a job at the time. He's Scottish. He's a good manager, which obviously he's went and proved it now. So that's probably hard to argue, but it's just a lot of things come down to financial. I know Brendan Rodgers, he were probably to take a job at that time at Celtic, he probably would have came down a wee bit on his salary, because he would have been in crazy money in his previous job in England. But I'm sure Rodgers would have took a cut of some sort to come to Celtic as well. But I think at that time Celtic probably thought they could get Mark Wilson in and win 10 in a row.
So again, and I know it's a different stratosphere, but yeah, I agree with all those points. But again, Celtic would probably have found himself in the same position, because if David Moyes was in charge at Celtic and West Ham come calling, he'd be out the door. He'd be away. Back to, because I think he still thinks he's got kind of unfinished business. Folk talk about his success at Everton. In terms of the Premiership, bang average at Everton. He didn't do anything great at Everton. Obviously, no one was going to fill Sir Alex's shoes. I felt a wee bit hard done by Manchester United. I think he went to Spain.
Yeah, Sociedad.
I don't think he ripped up any flowers there. And again, his next job was a sticky one. He had to do well in his next job. As I say, he may have taken the Celtic job, but I'm sorry, if West Ham had came calling a year or 18 months into his tenure at Celtic, he'd have been away. He'd have been away as well, similar to Brendan Rodgers, because you could obviously argue that West Ham are a bigger club than Leicester. So if they managed to attract, if Brendan's went to Leicester, I imagine they would have attracted Moyes to West Ham.
Yeah. Celtic obviously have a cup semi-final coming up on Saturday. We'll preview that in a couple of minutes, but we're going to hand the floor to Wilson, who's going to give us his SPFL roundup for the next couple of minutes.
Oh, well, obviously Kelly straight back to the top of the league after a wee blip last week. And it's tight now, that first division of the Championship, as you call it now. 5 points.
I didn't realise it was as tight as what it was.
5 points between the top 5. The appointment of John Hughes obviously galvanised the Dunfermline, who hadn't won a game for about a year away from home. And then suddenly a new manager comes in and they win their first win, which burst my coop. That's another story. Obviously a great win for Wraith Rovers at Hamilton, but Kelly's still top of the pile, but it is only by 3 points. I think the team can on furthest now are Partick Thistle. They've picked up a good couple of wins and to go down to Somerset and score 4. It was a good result for them. So Ian McCall will be running for Championship Manager of the Month, I would imagine. First division, again, it's tight as well. There's only 4 points between the top 5 teams in there. Falkirk winning away at Dumbarton again kind of puts them in the mix as well. What I did notice again in the second division was 4 home wins. But Kelty have run away with that league. That's there as well, just calling that now and putting Kelty Hearts up. But as I say, the leagues are tight, and it's actually, you can go back to the Championship. I think there's maybe only 5 points between 6th and 10th as well. But I think they're kind of cut adrift now. I think, again, I know we're always expecting Arbroath maybe to kind of fail away, but they seem to be holding it in there. And as I say, 4 points from the top, but there's then a big gap. I think it's 8 or 9 points between them and 6. So all to play for, but the teams we tipped at the start of the season, I think, would have a wee bit extra. So I think on my predictor, I think I went Kelly, Falkirk, Kelty. So not looking too bad.
Kelly Cove, Kelty I went for.
Do you think Hamilton Accies form
shut the club down?
Is taking a wee bit of a slip because of a certain fixture that's on their fixture list up and coming weeks?
I don't know, all the thoughts are going to Beechwood.
Mate, I'll tell you this, Talbot are favourites. Talbot are favourites. I'm not. I'll tell you a wee story. I got a phone call from Hamilton Accies the other day asking if they could play Stuart to prepare them for playing Talbot. That's how bad Hamilton Accies are. So Tommy Sonong got manager a month, but I think I'm Talbot all the way there. Hamilton Accies are hopeless, man.
I actually tipped Hamilton to do well in the league this year. So
and Lloyd tipped Wraith Rovers and all, so the twoies as well. Yourself up the road. But no.
3 points off top, you know?
I was going to be Kelly.
Did they not beat Kelly?
I'd say Kelly's top of the map.
Pumped up 3-1.
Isn't it, ma? And Inverness having a wee blip as well.
That's
kind of brought them back into it. Obviously, Partick beating Kelly as well. Kind of brought everyone together. So
who beat Inverness at the weekend?
Dunfermline.
Dunfermline, was it?
First away win since October last year. I'd back to draw. As well. Couldn't believe it.
Interesting. There's brilliant round up for Wilson there, but we'll touch on what's coming up this weekend. And obviously we've got the Premier Sports Cup semi-finals. We'll start at Hampden on Saturday, where Celtic look to beat the defending champion St Johnstone. Callum, give us a wee prediction. Celtic St Johnstone, who reaches the final? Ange or Davidson?
Ange. I'm going Celtic. 2-1.
2-1. Wilson? Anytime
I think
you
that's
back
Gail
against
Bell.
Callum Davidson,
come on, like I'm not playing.
Again, I think Callum Davis is a wee bit of a sticky. Obviously, an incredible season last year. I think they've been a wee bit sticky recently. So I think actually might be. I don't think Callum's maybe results too far off. I'm going to go extra time and go 3-2 Celtic.
2 votes for Celtic. Shankers, Celtic, St Johnstone. Who gets to the final?
Celtic, I think it'll be too strong on the day. Big pitch. I think at Hampden they've done well recently there the last few years, so I think Celtic 2-0 clean sheet.
Yeah, I'll go another vote for Celtic.
Clean sheet, you cannot.
I'm trying to reverse jinx it so as it curses them.
3-1 Celtic. I'm going to go for. I think Ange will reach his first final in as Celtic manager, and I think we'll become the one for Celtic. Sunday, Rangers versus Hibs. This could be interesting because obviously we know Rangers likely to take this game without a manager. Wilson, Rangers, Hibs, who potentially goes to Hampden in the December if we are one here.
Again, it's tight to call. I mean, every other day of the week, I would take Rangers comfortably. Again, I sometimes think there'll be possibly a wee bit of kind of backlash in terms of the players. Are some of them now thinking, that's Steven Gerrard the way I'm angling for a move? Or are they going to kind of perform and earn that move? Hibs for me are big game bottlers at the best of time. So my heart says Hibs, but my head says 4-0 Rangers.
I
can't see it.
I'll concede the traditional first goal.
No. I think Jermaine Defoe will have them well versed at the back.
Shankers, Rangers, Hibs, who reaches the final?
Rangers. Hibs have had a long spell off. players with COVID, etc. So I think that it's not the best preparation, probably. The only benefit I would say is the Nisbet. I don't know if Boyle was away. I don't know if they had any qualifiers.
Yeah, I think Boyle's on international duty, yeah.
So, but they didn't have as much players as Rangers away, so they maybe had a chance to prepare a wee bit and train. I know obviously because they had COVID, I think the last 2 fixtures get cancelled. Yeah. So I think it's maybe 3-4 weeks since the last game, which obviously doesn't bode well. I know you can. My point of view as a player, you want, if you're playing well, or even if you're playing a top, you've got a final or that coming up, you need a game. You need games before it to get up to match speed. Rangers had that, and Rangers, Ross County, Motherwell were 2 decent performances after going a goal down, but they kind of returned after going to go down. They kind of come back and scored plenty of goals. I think with the manager out, some of these players will maybe need to step up and take a bit of responsibility, like the captain, McGregor, Davis, people like that. Go on the side. I think these players will maybe need to step up, take a bit of responsibility, and maybe with the doom and gloom of Gerrard going away. Obviously, it wasn't there for long because the talk of the new manager coming in. But what a way to go and get your team into a final. New manager coming in, go and impress them. Go and stake your claim if you're in the starting team, if you're in the starting lineup for Sunday. Go and like maybe Sakala who was kind of in and out. He was kind of hitting a wee bit of form there. Go and stake your claim and say to Van Bronckhorst or whoever comes in. I imagine it's Van Bronckhorst. Go and stake your claim and say I want to be in this team week in week out. And I think sometimes when it's games like this, you get a wee reaction out of players. So I'm going for 2-1 Rangers.
2-1 Rangers. Callum, Rangers.
Yeah, sorry, just on that, Shankers. I know you've been in some naughty dressing rooms in your day, I'm sure. I always just think, see when they said, like, no disrespect to these guys, obviously know what they're doing if they're employed by Rangers on that level, but can you imagine, like, Brian Gilmore and these guys giving a team talk and Davis and McGregor out the pitch going, how many dafties?
It's like the supply teacher.
I didn't bother, mate. Like the Man United fella, I'll be in zone 14, pal. Don't you worry.
Is Marco spoke to, because Brian Gilmore actually played with us at Ayr when Marco was the manager. That's right. I sure he did. No, I've not spoken to him.
He just hope he's not took his management skills after him.
You could always tell he was going to go down that coaching road. See just doing that, his management things with Marco. I don't know if I've said this before. And I can imagine if he does like Marco, we come in, we conceded at the last minute for Stenny ones. And I don't know if you've been in the home change room at Somerset, as you come in the door and then through the change room there's a door into like the boot room, showers, stuff like that. So we've come in and Kerser's standing at that kind of door in the way through for the kit room and stuff. And on the table there's pancakes and stuff like that for before the game, for a wee bit deep. There's strawberry jam. We've conceded at the last minute. Marco comes in, strawberry jam, smashes it. I don't know if he smashes it in the table or smashes it in the wall. And Kerser's storing it, when it smashes, all the jam's storing all over his face and all over his tap and that. He's just storing it at the door as if he didn't care what today because he just conceded at the last minute. I can imagine Brian Gilmore coming in and doing that to Davis or McGregor if they conceded the last minute. I think McGregor would rip his head off.
That's all I think that Shankar mentioned there as well. They've got a new manager impressed whether he's sitting in the stand or not. It's a magic impress. So.
Yeah, definitely. Callum gives a prediction. Rangers Habs, who gets the final?
I think Rangers, obviously, as Mark said, Wilson said about a couple of minutes ago, about any other day of the week, if it was Gerrard, you would back again. You would back with Rangers, but it's difficult. But I think it'll be I think Rangers will go through, but I think it'll be for the first half an hour. I think it'll be Rangers trying to settle into the game. I think they'll struggle for the first maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, and then I think that's when they'll start to ease into the game. But I'm going to go with Rangers. I'm going to go 1-0. I'm just going to go a standard 1-0 because I think, as I said there a second ago, I think it will take them time to settle into the game under new under new management, obviously. But I'm just going to go out a standard 1-0.
1-0, I'll go Rangers 2-1. I think they'll concede first and then go on to win the game, same as what happened in the fixture at Ibrox a couple of months ago. With 3 games in the Premiership, we're just going to go give the 3 games and we'll give everybody their predictions. Dundee United, Aberdeen, Motherwell, Hearts, St Mirren, Livy. Wilson, give us 3 predictions for those games. Dundee United, Aberdeen first.
I'm going. I had a wee look at it this morning. The Livingston one upsets me because I thought I went 3 away wins there. But Livingston are terrible, absolutely terrible. So I'll go Aberdeen, Hearts, draw.
Okay, Shankers, Dundee United, Aberdeen, Motherwell, Hearts, St Mirren, Livy.
Aberdeen's hitting I wouldn't say form, but they've had a few decent results. So I think Aberdeen is Aberdeen at home.
Aberdeen are away.
Away. Ooh. I'll just go the 1-0 then for Aberdeen. What's the next fixture?
Motherwell versus Hearts at Firth Park.
I'm gonna go wee 1 each in that one. And St Mirren Livy. 0-0. Ref wins. Aye, 0-0. Kind of boring game. Both teams try to kind of cancel each other out, stuff like that. What channel's that on?
Maybe 3 draws then. Maybe 3 draws in the SPL this weekend.
Could be.
There's your tip, folks. There's your tip.
There's your
3 draws.
fiver bet.
3 draws. Callum, Dundee United, Aberdeen, Motherwell, Hearts, and Mirren, Livy. Give us 3 score predictions.
I'll go 2-1 Dundee United at home to Aberdeen. I'll go Hearts 2-0 away to Motherwell. And I'll go St Mirren 2-0 at home to Livingston.
Big goals. I think Shankers is right. I think St Mirren Livingston's 0-0 written all over it. I think that could be, because we'll just finishing that now. Hearts Motherwell's interesting because I think Motherwell not beat Hearts at Tynecastle a couple of weeks ago. That could be a one. I fancy Motherwell there. I'm going to go 2-1
Don't
Motherwell.
take any of my advice in a coupon, by the way. I have not the coupon up for about 3 years, so.
No, take mine. 3 draws, folks. If you're watching, 3 draws.
Dundee United 2, Aberdeen 1. I think Dundee United will bounce back after a couple of bad results. But again, another exciting weekend in the Scottish football. The domestic action is back. Wilson, Shankers, Callum, thank you very much for joining us as always. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you very much to everyone that's tuned in. Please subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channels and follow us on social media. We will hopefully, if any managerial news comes in at Ibrox, we'll hopefully be one of the first to report it. And if any other news comes in Scottish football, this is a place to be. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.